Okay, so welcome to 5 types of data you should be capturing, but as we said, it's a bit more James Bond than that. We want to be kind of just, what can we find out about those customers? What secrets are they going to tell us that maybe they don't even know they're going to tell us? So we'll have a little look at that as we go through. So right, let's see. Really quite simple. You know, I'm not the master of PowerPoint, so this is your lot. So we can look at 3 things. Sign up information. So you've all got the sign up, the form builder, the pages and forms thing in your account. So just going to look at how we can use that to collect data and stuff like that. Have a look at how we can collect marketing preferences. There's a few ways of doing this sort of stuff, but I'll show you how it works. Not everyone uses this, we've noticed in the account. So we're going to show you how you can store different marketing preferences and data fields and insight data and stuff like that. So we'll have a quick look at that collecting data in a slightly more manual way, I guess, to start with. But then really we're going to go into the segmentation tool, and I want to show you all the insight data. So behavioral stuff we want to be looking at. So, you know, what are people doing with emails, usual stuff? What are they opening? What are they clicking? What are they downloading? What videos are they watching? All that sort of behavior. Now, obviously, web insight is something, you know, all accounts have got now as well. So, or web behavior tracking, as we call it, I think that's the Latin name for it. So we can look at where are people going on the site, and so we can use that that behavior, you can monitor that behavior, and then we can record stuff. So we'll have a look at how that might work as well, and we'll just talk around for the ecom guys a bit of order and cart insight as well, and what we can do. So the idea is we're trying to find out information, and there's a few ways of collecting that information and storing it, and then of course using it. So we'll have a mosey on through. Okay, let's jump in then, and let's have a look. Where are we? Mr. Bond, there we go. Oh, I had a picture of James Bond. That's what I was going to show you. Oh, we forgot it now. Anyway, so let's have a look. So just a real standard stuff to start with, just to make sure everyone's kind of on the same page. So remember, everything I talk about is in the training or the support area. Hit the question mark on any page. You've got the knowledge base, loads of training material in there. Everything we cover and lots of other stuff is in the training knowledge base. Worth a look. Particularly, we release loads of new stuff all the time. We've just got another release coming out at the moment in the next couple of weeks. Training videos, we have a training video for everything. So all the bits I'm going to show you, plus obviously that's only a fraction really I'm going to show you today. Everything, all of the different connectors to the CRM systems, to the e-commerce platforms, forms, SMS, designs, everything is in there. So please use the training videos. They're there for everyone to use. They're really, really good training tools. Okay, so let's start thinking about data then. So just some really simple stuff to start with. Like, firstly, how do we store data? Okay, so everyone knows if I go into the contacts menu, contacts, my contacts, this is the home of your contacts. And so the very first thing is address books. You can create up to 1,000 different address books in your account to store different groups of customers. Nice and easy. So we know we can manually add people to address books, and all of our different integrations and sign up forms and things can add people into address books. So we have people in different address books. Then we've got the data fields. So if I want to look at that global contact record in my account, so everyone's contact record is the same. They all have the same data fields. If I want to play with data fields, I go to contacts, contact data fields. I know you all know this stuff, but it's just worth reiterating for any maybe newcomers or whatever. So in the data fields section, there's the default data tab. Every .mailer, .digital, I get me sacked. .digital account has all of the default data fields, first name, last name, postcode, etc. And then my data fields is where you can create up to 400 data fields in the global contact record, right? So that's a lot of information to record. So yeah, we go through the, you know, what's your name, job title, sector, business name, you know, all that good stuff. Demographic stuff, I guess, if you like. Then depending on what you're pumping in, we've got that sales data. So the e-coms have got things like average order value, total revenue, all this sort of stuff. The CRM stuff is pulling through as well. So we might have contract start date, end date, call dates, all this sort of stuff. So there's loads of space in here, 400 data fields. So it's just worth pointing out, you know, what kind of data can we store. So if I go and create a new data field, this is how you would do it in your account. So into the contact data fields, my data fields, and go to new data field. This is where you create data, and I'm sure you've all done this before, but it's worth pointing it out. So I can create up to 400 data fields, and it's broken down into kind of 4 types of data. So I want to record, I don't know, who's your favorite Bond, right? So we all know it's Roger Moore. I don't know what the question is, although I do like Daniel Craig. But so I name the data field, and we say, well, what kind of data are we going to store? Okay, text or string data is any character. Letters, numbers, special characters, usual stuff. Now, if you want to, let's see, if you want to pull in phone numbers into your to store phone numbers in your account, it might be that you're going to use maybe SMS text messaging. You want to collect phone numbers in that way. Maybe you're good old school sales driven business like my background, where we want to be able to create call lists for our sales teams, the most expensive channel in the marketing armory. So we need to keep them fed with new leads. So you could pull the phone numbers of your clients in. We can run some of this stuff we're doing today and say, there you go, guys. There's a list of people you should be calling, because we know they're interested in this product or this service. We know they had a look at it over the last couple of hours or last couple of days, I should say, that kind of thing. So you might want to do that. The reason I say that is if you want to pull in phone numbers, you use a text field. Because kind of we want that +44 for the UK, don't we? Want that international format to enable us to do lots of things. So text fields for phone numbers and everything else, and text numbers. Numeric is more figures, true numbers. So number of employees, number of offices, average order value, contract value, budget, that sort of stuff. Date fields, of course, we love a date. Drives a lot of automation, as you can imagine. So bringing those through. And then yes, no data fields, right? So you might want to store data in Boolean. So has someone, I don't know, are they a client? Yes or no? Have they signed up for the event? Yes or no? Do they like this product or service? Yes or no? All that stuff. And so there's 4 different types of data field to store data in. And then it's worth understanding what can we do with data, right? If I know one thing about a customer, whether it's their favorite Bond, where they're based, their average order value, their budget, their industry, their job title, we can use that information in lots of different ways. So probably 4 key ways, I guess. So firstly, segmentation. So we can segment customers by anything, and we are going to touch on the segmentation as we go through. I can segment my customers by pretty much anything, one of those things being data fields. So we can do it that way around, use it to segment customers. Then we got personalization, where we use the value in a data field as content. So dear David in a first name data field, we can use all that stuff. But of course, we can use any data field for content. So I was training a company only last week, Holiday Cottages, where they're using pet name, dog name. So when people book a thing, how's Rover, is he coming along, and all that sort of stuff. So we can use the value of any data field. We can tell people when their contract's about to end, or the name of their account manager or salesperson, that kind of stuff. So personalization. Then you've got dynamic content. You better all be using this, by the way. Dynamic content, a simple piece of functionality in everyone's editor, where you can show different versions of content to different customers in the same email using dynamic content. So if, I don't know, if a customer is in the construction industry, show them this information. If they're in the, I don't know, delivery industry, whatever that is, transport industry, we show them this content. So that kind of stuff, just different content to different customers in the same email. So you're making emails very dynamic. That's driven by data fields. And then of course automation, many things we can use to trigger automation and make decisions. One of those is data fields. So segmentation, personalization, dynamic content, and automation are all driven by data fields. So yeah, we can create up to 400 data fields, and that 400 limit is kind of spread across those different types, so 50 yes no data fields and whatever. So depending on what you're going to do with the data, you might decide how you're going to store it. So if I want to record like genuinely who's your favorite Bond, I could have a text field and I could ask people, fill out the form, who's your favorite Bond. But what if people have got 2? Roger Moore's my favorite, Daniel Craig, without question, has been the best, in my opinion. So I might want to have 2. So rather than having a text field and asking for my favorite Bond, am I better to create, let's have a look, Roger Moore, I don't know why I'm using this as an example, but we're using it. We're sticking with it now. Roger Moore and all the rest of them as a yes, no data field. So I can have multiple choices, right? So I can have Roger Moore, I can have Daniel Craig, and all the rest of it, Sean, obviously, and so on. So you might, depending on how you want to use that data or store the data, have a data field that records one answer, who's your favorite, or have a selection of yes, no data fields where people can tell you all of the things that they like. Okay, so stuff like that. So they're your data fields, first of all, how we can store data as data fields. And we use those for those things. Then we've got another way of storing data, preferences. And so again, in the context menu, we've got preferences, marketing preferences. These are probably about a year old now. We've added since we've added them into the platform, and they're really, really good. They allow us to do a few different things. So marketing preferences, what really they're a bit like data fields. There are some differences, but what they're really good for is when we're kind of requesting people to asking them about their preferences, we can give them a bit more context. So let's get rid of this light here, and we'll create some new ones. So let's just delete these. So marketing preferences, there's two parts really. There's the category of preferences, if you want the category, and the individual preferences. So let's do that on here. So categories and preferences. So let's build a category first. So I'm going to go with bond. Okay, fave bond. So you'll see there's a private name and a public name. So private name is the thing, tag if you like for this category. Public is what people are going to see if we show the preferences in a survey or the preference center. So I don't know, who's your bond? You know, when you start off with an idea, you only get halfway through and you think, yeah, that was a stupid idea. There we go. We've just experienced one of mine. So who's your favorite bond? And so that's a category. Okay, so now I can add the preferences in. I won't add them all in, obviously, but so preference here, I can say, yeah, okay, so we've got obviously more, Roger Moore. Is it public or private? So if a field, if a preference is public or private, determines whether we can see it in a preference center or form, okay? If something is public, we can see it in a preference center, we can see it in a form. If it's private, we can't. We still use it, we just can't show it in a form or a preference center. Same goes for data fields as it does for preferences. Public, we can see it. Public, the customer can see it if we want them to. Private, they can't see it. So I'll stick with public, and I'll keep it in the category of favorite bond. Okay, so more, we'll just add one more in there, another preference. So let's have, I guess, Connery. Should have looked up how to spell these names, shouldn't I? Create. Oh, look, see, I did that wrong. I do apologize. That's a category. We don't want that. Let's delete that. I made that as a category. I suppose in a sense he is his own category, but let's just create a preference. There we are, preference, better. Okay. Public, yes. In the bond category, absolutely. So you see what we're doing. I'll leave it there. I'm pretty sure you can understand what I'm doing. Now you can have preferences outside of a category. So you might say public, say, let's have a look. Probably really, I'm making it up now. Prefer Cruise, Tom Cruise. All right. Make it public, but no, it's not a bond. It's its own category. That's one for our American friends on the call there. So you got favorite bond, or you prefer Cruise. So that kind of stuff. So you see, we can build, this could be massive. You know, this could be, you know, the products that you like, or the categories that you prefer. It might be, how frequently would you like to receive email? Is it daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly? Whatever it is, we can use for marketing preferences. So you've got data fields and marketing preferences. We can store data in both, and we can get the customer to edit both as well, more importantly, to collect that data. So contacts, data fields, and marketing preferences. So I'm just going to show you quickly, and we're going to have a very quick look at building a sign-up form so you can see how that all works. But I very quickly want to show you preference centers, purely because everyone's got one in their account. So it's worth showing you where it is and how you can edit it, right? So if you want to see your preference center in your account, basically let's separate this out actually. We've got the US and we've got the rest of the world. In the US, by law, you have to have a unique link to unsubscribe. So in a US account, you'll have an unsubscribe link, and you could have a link to your preference center if you want to. They are two separate things. Outside of the US, you can use the same link to do both. So what happens in a lot of the standard setting on a non-US account is the unsubscribe link takes you to the preference center effectively, because from in the preference center, you can change your preferences, but as a customer, you can also unsubscribe. Okay, so that's the difference really. Now the non-US accounts can have the same as the US, but the US by law have to have their separate links. That's their thing, and non-US can either. And I'll show you how that all works. So we're going to go firstly into settings, little settings menu there. We're going to go to account. So settings and account. I am going to show you the kind of spying bit as well, but we're going to be nice and ask people what they like first of all before we start making sort of sneaky assumptions. So settings, account, put them together, account settings there. I just want to show you this very quickly. The preference center, because it's a built-in form, right? It's a built-in form that you've got in your account. You might as well use it. So here we go, unsubscribe and preference center. So this is the section I'm talking about. So first of all, then let's just show you the two different settings. So for a non-US account, this is the default setting. When a contact clicks unsubscribe, so that's the name of the link, not the text, but the name, the unsubscribe link. When they click the unsubscribe link, show the preference center chosen below, and it will show the default preference center, which is what I'm going to show you. Okay, now the default is the one that's built into the platform. You have options. You can build your own offline, sorry, well, not offline, but somewhere else, not within Dotdigital platform. Or you could build like a site, a form using our forms and pages builder, and you could link to that instead. But we'll stick with the default. So that's the kind of non-US setup. For the US guys, it's very simple. It just says, when contact clicks unsubscribes, show the unsubscribe page. And when the setting is like this, the difference in the account is, of course, the unsubscribe link now just goes to the unsubscribe. So the customer clicks it, we ask them to confirm their email address, and they're unsubscribed, straight unsubscribe. But in that account also, in that US account now, there is also an extra option in the links that I can drag in a link type or use a link type that is the link to the preference center. So it has its completely separate link to the preference center. So you could do this in a non-US account. If you changed it to there, the difference you would see really is the unsubscribe link now straight unsubscribe. In your editor, when you look down the different options of link, you'll see unsubscribe, and underneath it, you'll say link to preference center. So you could have two separate links if you want to. So that's the kind of difference. It's generally what happens though in the non-US accounts is people leave it as it is and have two links. So they'll have one of the links, so it's the same thing. One just says click here for preferences, the other one says click it for unsubscribe, but actually it's the same link. They're going to the same place. So whichever way you prefer. Okay. And so then the preference center itself. So here it is. We can preview the default here. You could also just send yourself an email, right? And you can either unsubscribe or hit the view preferences if you wanted to, but you can come into here and just click preview. And so this is my preference center at the moment. So let's have a look. That's not too shabby. Okay, so if we work down the preference center, it's pretty plain, or the other way I put, of course, it's just very nice and clean. So the top bit is always there, same for everyone. Update your preferences, and the email address and type, right? Which can be edited. Anything you see can be edited. The customer can edit their own email address, which is great. But the bits below can be added or removed. So we've got data fields, we've got marketing preferences, and you can show address books as well that the customer can add or remove themselves from, subscribe or unsubscribe. So let's look at the, let's say start with the data fields. Okay, so that's the data fields that are showing. So the customer can edit this stuff. So I could put a postcode in there, I don't know, whatever it is, like so. I could update that, and that would edit my preferences. But we can also add stuff here. So, oh, good question there. Let's have a little look. Okay, Marie, good questions. How did I get here? I ask myself that all the time. So we find this section here in the settings menu, little fella down here with the cog, settings menu, account. And then when you click on account, you see this top bit, it says account settings. Click there. So settings, account, then account settings, and then I'll scroll down a little bit, and it's the unsubscribe and preference center settings. Okay, so let's have a look then at my data fields. Maybe I want to have a different data field in there. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll leave my preview open. I'll go back to my account, and I'm just going to go and see my data fields, contact data fields. So let's have a look. What's not showing there? So here's a trick. You see the column, the access column. that means is that field in this case private or not? So public, private, private, public. So what's not showing? Gender. There we go. So gender at this point is private. If I want to add that to the form, I simply go into the properties of that data field. It can be any of them, the my data fields as well. So, you know, company name, all that jazz. Go into the properties, and you'll see the access settings: public, private. It's set to private. Change it to public, and save. Okay, so that's now. You'll see gender now has changed to public. If I go back to my preference center, it's not there yet, but when I refresh the page, you'll see that it shows now. Beautiful. Preferences we saw, public and private, that's going to drive that. So we saw the preferences. I could go back into my marketing preferences and I can change all this and add them. And so it's worth pointing out, if you don't make any of your data fields public, that whole section won't show. Same with preferences. And we see this really with address books as well. You see, you can't see any data address books here. If I go back into my account now, let's go back to address books. Let's see what we've got. So let's take one of these. So I trained these guys this morning. If I go into the properties of this address book, so it's the same icon, the little properties icon. And once it loads, you'll see here, public and private. So it's private. If I make it public now, that address book, and save. Okay, back to the preview of actually back to my preference center. It's not there now. Hit a refresh, and of course it's the only one. It's now added in the entire address book section, which I can now add or remove myself from. So that's the preference center. You've all got it in your accounts. It's a very clean, simple one, making data fields, marketing preferences, and address books visible or not to the customer. They can only see their own preference center, and they can edit that data if they want to update their contact data if they want. So it's a nice simple one. Question here. Let's have a look. What's a big question? Let's have a look. Bear with. So good questions, by the way. Thank you. If you're thinking, I'm sure someone else is, so keep those coming through. So let's have a look. Promote different rounds in the organization. Different preference centers. So Mike's got a good question there. Thanks, Mike. So we provide different brands within our organization for different leisure industry centers, Yorkshire, etc. 2 different council areas. We have different preference centers for each. So what you can do there, Mike, is that preference center is at account level, right? So if you're in the one account, that's your only preference option, preference center. But what you can do, which you're going to do in a minute actually, is we can go in and we can build a sign-up form, or a form, if you like, form, survey page, whatever, where we could run it in a couple of ways, where basically on the first page of that form, you could say to them, where are you from? And if they're from one area and they click on it, then when they go through to the rest of that section, it's all about that particular area. If they clicked on the other one, it would take them a different way. It's called page branching, kind of. So there is a way of doing that by building a form and putting some intelligence into that. I'll show you sort of how that might work. Question there for Anne-Marie, good one. Will it appear in the email? No, it's a landing page. So they'll go away from the email and it appears like a hosted page effectively. As you can see, in fact, in the background there, you can kind of see, there it is there. It's a hosted page. And another question there. Oh, good, yeah, good one, Wilco. So the question here is, so what Wilco's highlighted there is, you'll notice when you create a data field, you can't have a space in the name. So there's what you got to put an underscore in or no space. So the names of a data field, they're not that friendly. They don't often look great. So what Wilco's saying there is, will Dotdigital be offering a solution to change the label of a field, allowing fields to have different and standard names, a bit like we did with the internal and external version of marketing preferences. Right now, Wilco, it's not available. I don't know if it's on the roadmap. I've not seen it as yet. There are some big things coming with data, so there may be in the sort of next year. But right now, no, which is kind of why we brought in preferences, marketing preferences, to be honest, because you can get that. You can use whatever kind of formatting you want for that sort of stuff. But But no, we are aware of that, and I know that is kind of being considered by the dev guys. But thank you for that. Okay, and then quick look at the preference center. We have an our account we aren't using at the moment. Address books. Oh, so the same thing, Vivian, to get rid of address books is if you go into an address book that is, so if you've got an address book showing here, like I've got Pyle there, if I go back into my address book, so I'll show you where that is, exactly the same process as showing it. If you've got, and it is worth everyone on the call just to check your preference center and have a look, see what it looks like, because if someone's gone in and kind of changed the setting in an address book, it will show in the preference center. So if we say that I want to not show Keos now, I go back into the properties of the address book that is showing, and I change it from public to private. And now if I change that back again, once that's done, Keos is there, address book, refresh the page, it's not there. So you do it like that. It's all about the public and private. Okay, so that's the preference center. Like really useful stuff, right? To collect all kinds of information. So that's your preference center. Okay, so the other option you've got, of course, is the form builder. Now, I'm not going to do a massive session on pages and forms, but we'll have a quick look. So you've all got the pages and forms tool. So the way I was trying to, we've kind of redone this, really smart new system. So I guess the way I look at it now is you can create a page, you can create a landing page or a page, web page, if you like, and that can have a form on it or not, right? So if you create a form, it's got to sit on a page. Got to, but it's likely to sit on a page. So that's how I see it. So it's pages and forms. You can build a page. You can have a page that doesn't have a form on, but you can also build a form that doesn't really sit on a page. You can have it embedded into your site and stuff like that. So let me just build a quick one. Again, we're focusing really on data capture here. So let's build a very quick new form, pages and form here. I'll just show you what you can capture. Right, so we'll just start with a blank one. There's loads of templates and stuff, but embed forms, embed pages. We're going to go for a nice simple blank form here. So let's just have a look. So data capture, aperture. Okay. So as I say, there's a lot to this tool. We're not going to go through a whole surveys and forms, landing pages session, but just to show you what you can capture really. So here's my pages and forms. So think about it as you're building a page, it could have a form or not. So building blocks are just like a bit like email really, all the different things we can have on these pages. Now remember, a page is not an email, so the restrictions we have with email sends to get maximum deliverability or delivery, some of those don't account for a web page, do they? Because we're not sending it. So there's a few things that we can do. You've got countdowns, you've got geo and time targeted blocks, lots of stuff. Well, I'm not going to go into all this, but it's all there in there worth having a look. So the blocks that we can add into our email are slightly different. The video, we embed it on the page now, rather than email where we link to a video to play. We can embed the email on the page and we can play it on the page because we're not delivering the web page effectively. But we're going to look at form blocks first of all. I'm just going to have a little bit of play and tidy this up just for a second so I can have a look at it. Right. So bear with me. I'm just putting some columns in so it looks a little bit better. Let's say 20 by 20% there, 20 by 20% there. Okay. So the way this works, okay, when you build a form, you can just have a form, like a survey or a form that people will fill out. And if you ever used like these other systems like, what do I used to use? SurveyMonkey, right? It's not connected to your database, is it? So you create a form, put it online, people fill it out, and to get the data out, you either produce a report from that platform or you export it out, don't you, onto CSV and stuff like that on Excel. So ours does that. You can just have this data and you can just do what you want with it in the platform. You can export it out, you can print off reports and all that stuff like you can with any kind of report form tool. But obviously the big thing here is that we can also take that data that we collect and add it into the contact record. That's, I guess, the point of today's exercise. So the big difference then is when we want to collect data that we want to add into a contact record, the first thing we need to do is collect the email address, because that is how we recognize the contact currently. So if we collect the email address, whatever we collect on the form, we can then say, okay, we want to add it to that contact record because that's the unique ID at the moment. So we need to collect the email address. So even the blank form, it's already got email on it because we want that. And so we'll ignore that this is there just for a second, and I'll show you kind of how it works. I'll just delete it. So we've got building blocks, all the parts that build up the page, and then the form are all of the things that creates my form, my sign up form, my survey. So text box, drag that in, bang. So if I click into, now I'm going to make this the email data field, but I just wanted to kind of build it from scratch for you there. So let's call it email. Click into the box, you'll see the panel goes live. First of all, what kind of text box is it? Is it text? Is it the contact email, the main email, number, phone number, secondary email? So whatever you want there. This is the contact email. And so instantly it knows that. So because I've selected that, it is now mapping the data field to the email data field in my Dotdigital database and the Engagement Cloud contact database. Okay, so it knows that because it's the contact email, so it's obvious it's going to do it automatically. And we'll see other fields that you can do this with as well. And it's also things that it's done automatically. Here is it's made it mandatory. You see the little red asterisk that I can't select over there as well. So we created it. We said it's an email field or the primary email field, contact email, and so it's automatically mapped it to that. And we'll come back and look at a few of these things in the other data fields you add in. So that's the first thing. I've got the email address, so we can add that data into a contact record. So let's have a look. So now other fields, and this is where it gets cool, right? Again, think of the data you can pull in. So we'll start really simple, a text box. We kind of saw that, right? So if I drag the text block in, give it a name. So let's have, I don't know, industry sector, right? Industry sector. So what kind of question field? It's a text field. But now you see, I get the option to assign to a data field, right? So there's all my data fields. If you haven't got the one you want, you see at the bottom there, create new data field. So on the fly, you can create a new data field. But we want industry sector. I've got that in here somewhere. He says, praying. There we go. Job done. Now, also, if we are sending somebody to a form from one of our emails, so let's say me, for example, it's all about me. You send me an email, and David, click here to fill out the form, and I click that link and go to that form. The form will know who I am because I've come directly from an email sent to me from Engagement Cloud. So what we can do is say, okay, if the guy comes to the form and we know the industry sector or the answer, we've got a value in that data field, we can either show it by default and I can change it, whatever, or we can hide it. So we don't, so like if we know the data, we can just not ask for it again because we already know it. So actually that contact gets a smaller form effectively. So if we know the data, we can hide it if we want to. There as well, we can make it mandatory, a required field, so a little red asterisk there if we want to. And we've got things like watermark. So in email, you might put a watermark so you show them what an email looks like. And also things with email as well. If someone puts in not an email address, effectively, an invalid email address, it will just point them out and say, oh, come on, that's not an email address. And you can kind of, prompt them to put the correct stuff in. So they're your text fields that you can add in. It's worth pointing out that the only type of data field or data question that we can link to a contact record has to elicit a single answer. Think of it like that, right? So a data field has one answer, just whatever you put in the field. And of course, that could be a whole thing. It could be a whole like description or comment. It doesn't have to be a word. So it could be a big old field box. I've got, obviously I've said industry sector. That could be comments, couldn't it? That could be upload your, the good old days of the packet cornflakes packets when you'd say, give us a good story of why you like cornflakes, that sort of stuff. So text boxes, single answer, we can link them to a data field. Drop down menus also elicit a single answer. Okay, so drop down menu. So I'm going to sort of, let's put it that way. Let's do favorite color, right? Just as a daft example. So I can map it to a data field. If I had a data field, what's your favorite color? And if not, I could create a new data field. So I can map that, as we said, because it asks for a single answer. And then we edit the list. So what are our favorite colors? So I don't know, let's just something silly and edit. What have we got? Red, white, and blue. Like so, add it in. They're the lists. Of course, I can edit this stuff if I want to. There's also some predefined lists in all of these things. So like days of the week, months of the year, US states, UK counties, I don't know, all that sort of stuff. So again, it's selecting a single answer from a drop down. Back into here, multiple choice, radio buttons, same thing, single answer. Okay, so I'm going to do favorite color. It's getting number this time, ridiculous. So here, numbers like numbers, but you can't feel it. So we could say 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. So you see where we are there. Now we're adding them into the question, whereas the drop down, we edited the list here. The contact, we can either use a predefined list or we can just write them in. And again, we can assign it to a data field. Checkbox, you can't assign to a data field because people can select more than one answer. So we'll save the data and you can export it out and everything, but you can't assign it to a data field. Opinion scale is quite good. So, you know, how was training? If I could even type it in. There we go. How was training? Scale of 1 to 10, bang, bang, bang. Of course, effectively, think what we're doing, we are recording a number between 1 and 10. So we can add that in to a data field. Date and time, of course, is a single question. When you're arriving, what's your date of birth, contract start date, contract end date, when can we call you? Would you like a call back? What's the best time? So this date and time field, again, we can assign it to a data field. All the things that we did before, we can make it mandatory. We can decide on, do we want date and time? Do we just want date? You know, what's a good date? Time, what's the best time to catch you, to call you, when you're arriving? All this stuff, right? So there's another field, it elicits a single answer. We can add it into the contact record. Consent, obviously, like with all this stuff, really, you know, the whole point, I guess, of collecting data is can we send you some messages? So the consent tool is really simple, right? We drop it in here and you put your consent message. Now, obviously, refer to your legal advisors and whatever your message is. I say, I agree, you can email me until I die, obviously. But obviously you can sort your own lawyers. And so what's going to happen here, okay, we've definitely, what you would, wouldn't you? You'd make it a mandatory field, I guess. You don't have to, but you kind of would. And this message, by the way, when we do mandatory fields, that's the message that if someone tries to submit the form without clicking that, that's the message that will flash up just to remind them. So what will happen with consent, it's worth pointing out, is that will be recorded. So obviously we record all the data, but consent, when someone clicks that, you know, it's quite an important piece of information. We're going to record that in the contact record. So we're going to say, what did they click? When did they click it? What was the text on, you know, that they agreed to? All this kind of stuff, and you can search for it. So we store that, so you've got that record always in the contact record of when you gathered that consent. So you can also almost see how old is it, who have we got where our consent is over 3 years old? Do we need to go back to these guys and confirm that? So that's a really good one to add in there. And that'll do, I think. Everything else gets a bit much, except we want this one, preferences. So all that James Bond nonsense that I regret now, there we go. So I've just dragged in the preferences block, and there's all my marketing preferences. More Connery, etc. So you can not only have all the data fields and stuff, you can get the customer to update their actual preferences, those marketing preferences within the form as well. Okay, so they're the questions. Remember, this is about data, not about building surveys and landing pages. So there's all that good stuff in there that we can collect as long as you've got the email address and we're using those fields that elicit a single answer. We can push that back into the contact record. Just a quick couple of questions there. Let's just see the ones that we haven't done. Can you, oh, good questions. So Charlotte, can you populate contact data field from order insights? Oh, sister, you can. I'm going to show you that next. Absolutely, that's what I refer to as spying. Yes, we can do that, and I'll show you how to do that. And then that will drive dynamic content. Oh, Charlotte, you must have been trained for these questions. That's great. So yes, we can. I'm going to show you how you convert all of that insight data that we're going to talk about in a minute. How can you convert that to a usable data field? Great question. Wilco, any tips on to enlarge or make fields smaller all at once? No, mate. Unfortunately, they're all kind of single fields. I guess the trick you could do is you can duplicate them. See in the background. So you get them get one to the right size you want, and then you could duplicate it if it's a text field, and then you just change you'd fill out different stuff, give it a different name, and select it. So maybe use the duplicate stuff. On On landing pages, yes, you can put tracking on the pages there. Utilities add tracking code, so you can do that as well. Smart forms, which you can include websites. Let's have a look. So question there, Wilco. Smart forms can include a website filled out in steps on your website. So first you ask for email address, a few weeks later. At the moment, no, it doesn't do that. You would probably use automation in our system to say, first month, to get to first base, and we'll ask for their email address. And then if they filled that out, we'll then send them maybe a link to the second form, which would be asking for more personal details. And then in the third month, if they filled that out, we'd ask for more. So it wouldn't be, you call that a smart form. It wouldn't be a smart form. It would be an automated program that maybe directed the customer to the next form in the journey. So yes, we could do it. We would do it a different way around by using automation. But yeah, we could do that. Automation, program builder is the one. All right, so with your forms, just as an aside, we've collected all this data. It's amazing. When people fill out forms, we can do stuff to them. That's a weird answer. So we can send them to, once they filled out the form, so maybe it's a gateway form, give us this information and we'll let you join a webinar, that kind of thing. We can send them to a website, or we can send them to another page that you've created. So the obvious one is a thank you page. So you might create a thank you, thanks for signing up, thanks for whatever, and you can send them to that page or your website. You can also have people fill out a form more than once. So a lot of clients use this for like registration forms for events, big events. So you might want people to go back once they've confirmed their flight details and when are you arriving, or any kind of dietary advice. You can have people go back to fill out these forms. And when someone fills out a form, not only do we update the data, like that's what we're kind of talking about, we can also add them to address books, and we can automatically enroll them on a program. Okay, so all this stuff we can do to them when they fill out the form. The other one is email alerts. So not only do we update the data when they fill out the stuff, not only do we kind of send them to web pages and add them to address books and programs, we can also email people. So you can let your sales team know, or whoever internally, send me an email when someone fills out this form. And if you want, you can include the response. So, hey, David, someone's filled out this form. Here's their response. So I can handle it, maybe go through, check the registration information, or go to a salesperson. Maybe that's a lead, a callback request or something. And also, I suppose, you can also send a message to the person that filled out the form, either one of your triggered emails, or you can kind of just do that message, thanks a lot. In that case, you do it like a handwritten message there, or we can link to one of your triggered emails. So really good stuff. Remember, all of these things are great. This is a web page. You will always need to publish the form. So really simply create a link. You could put like a really friendly finish to the URL, which is pretty good. I create the URL that is going to point at this form. If I do that, creates my URL there, and then you publish. Remember, it's a web page. You can build it in Dotdigital, but unless you publish it to the web, it's just sitting in Dotdigital. Very selfish. So save and publish. Bang, and we've got to fill all this out. So bear with me. I've got to just finish this off. It's all, you know what we're like. We're all fail safe. I'm HTTPS. www.dot.com. Oh, good. So when I publish now, this form is now live, or will be once I do that. Remember, if you make any changes to a form, you save the changes and republish, because obviously same thing again. If you don't republish to the web, then your changes won't be published up there. And so in terms of getting people to the forms, there will now be in my editor, when I build an email, bottom of my editor, when I go, add a link, the little link button there, you've got link to pages and forms. This will be in that option I can select there. Or I can just get a link, copy the link. So it's just, I can put it in Facebook and all the rest of it, share it on Twitter there as well. I can generate an embed code, so I can get this form on a web page. So stick it on my own site if I want, just use the embed code for that. Or we can generate a popover. So the old forms that you hit a web page and in about 3 seconds it goes, hello, fill out the form. We can use this as a popover as well, and you can set a delay and how many appearances and stuff like that. And again, it's more kind of surveys and forms information, but just to kind of let you know how you can disseminate the form, but lots of ways of getting people to that form. Okay, let's get into some segments. Let's have a questions there about tips and clear form. Good question there, Wilco. Probably worth talking to the support guys there, see if there is. In terms of formatting, it really is going to be the sort of the formatting on the page. But bear in mind, it's a web page, the form, so you get a lot more options when you build these forms in terms of font and things like that. If I just very simply put a bit of text in there, anyone that's using email, you'll see there's a big difference now in terms of the font. You can add your own font, so you should be able to style it pretty close to your site. But of course, once it's on the site, it's kind of, we can't change it from there. But things like your question there, Wilco, probably worth talking to support, see if they can give you some tips. Okay, so that's collecting data. Right, let's get back to email. So we're storing data in fields and preferences and la-di-da. We're capturing it by preference centers. Everyone's got that, so that's nice. And then, of course, you've all now got the surveys and pages doodah. So you can build those forms as small or as big as you like. The question there about the different councils and having the different options. On that survey there, there's an option where we can show different questions to different people based on an answer from a previous question. So you might say, where do you live, here or here? And when they click, let's say answer A, that will then take them to the questionnaires or the questions purely based on that area. So you would probably do that. We do webinars training, actually. It's worth just mentioning that. We do training webinars on just the surveys and forms page. So if you wanted to get involved, contact our guys or get through to the training guys, and they'll get you onto the webinar. We can take you through in a lot more detail. But there'll be a training video for that as well. Okay, so let's have a look then at this data. So I'm going to go into segmentation now. So contacts, segments, let's have a look. So segmentation tool, hopefully everyone on the call is using this. When I was a client of what was Dotmailer, of course, I had my head in this screen for about 5 years, so I'm a big fan. So segments, of course, are our dynamic send lists. Okay, so we can copy existing segments and we can create new ones. So let's get in and build a new segment. Worth pointing out, when we create a segment, there are loads of templates that we can use to get us going, give us some inspiration, give us some ideas. So let's have a look. Let's create a blank template there. So let's have a look at, I shouldn't say spying because someone will probably tell me off. Let's say data capture. Obviously, I'm never as funny as I think I am, so someone will get offended if I say spying. So let's have a look then. So data we can capture. All right, so segmentation, include, exclude people that match these rules, and then exclude anybody that matches these rules, basically. Gives us the net count of people in the segment. So we saw data fields. I'll show you it just because, right? I want to find different people. So data fields, drag the data field rule into maybe include and say, show me people where address city is equal to, not equal to, more than, less than London. Bang, 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 bang. It's not case sensitive, although you do, however, have to spell it correctly. So that would just, using segmentation, find people where that data field has that value. Simple stuff, but you've already got that data, but it shows how you can use the data in a segment. Show me people where average order value is this or whatever. But what we're talking about is slightly more behavioral, right? So we're going to start off with web insights, because you've all got access to this. Every account has this. So web insights, insight data, it's like data fields, but it's more like magic. So you drag in the web insight tool. So first of all, this is something you set up in your account, and we will obviously help you with. So if I go to the question mark support area and go to the knowledge base in here. So go to the knowledge base in the little support area there and search for, I'm going to search, it's web behavior tracking is the big name for it there, or web insights. I'm going to do web, let's have a look, behavior. I just realized I can't spell behavior tracking. There we go. Well, I wasn't far off. Is that spelled right? I'm getting better. So web behavior tracking. Have a look in here. The setup is here, all the stuff. You've got the to kind of make this work, installing it for all the kind of, the guy's going to set this up. So have a look. There's lots of documents here, all the stuff. I'm not going to go through and talk about all of it, but everything you need to set this up is in here. All the code that you need to add onto your website, All of that stuff is there. So everything you need. In fact, what I'll do, let me send it through. I'm going to send it through on the chat here. So obviously that will disappear when we finish the session. So I'll send it through on chat. So maybe just take a copy of this in the chat and save it somewhere. But that's the support article, web behavior tracking in the support section. You'll see a little orange speech bubble somewhere on your dashboard there, just worth copying that if you want to, if you haven't set this up already. But effectively, what web behavior tracking is, or web insights, is cookies. So we give you all that code, as you saw there. You drop it on every page of the website, and then we're basically using cookies to track your customers around the site. So this is my simplified version, simple because of me, not because of you. So customer goes to the site, we drop a cookie on their browser, we follow them around, we start to collect web insight data. Where is that customer going on my site? Now, normally, if you're using Google Ads and things like that, that's anonymous, because all we're really recognizing is the browser, because that's where we've put the cookie. However, obviously, we've got your customers in the database. So if you've got a customer that has been going to the site and doing all that stuff, and we're using the cookie data to identify all that behavior, and they're in your database, your customer database, we send them an email, they click on a link, obviously that link takes them to that website. Now we connect the two bits of data. We've got the web behavior that we're recording, and we've obviously now recognized what customer it is. So we can link the two. So now it's, where are these people going? So let's have a quick look there. So if I click into Web Insights here, think of every visit to the website as a transaction. So we want to say, okay, we want to include or exclude, remember, include contacts where the number of Web Insights records is greater than or equal to 1, or in English, at least 1 visit to the website. And we could say, who's been to the website more than once, less than once, whatever, in a week, or whatever you want to do. We can change the number, we can change the equation. But hit OK, just show me those people that have been to the site since we've turned on web behavior tracking and have opened an email, because we're recognizing those people. Where it's clever, though, is the filter. So I've included people that have got at least 1 visit to the website. We say, which website? Maybe you can use this on multiple sites. Maybe where did they go on my site? So pages viewed by title and URL. So let's go page URL, for example, here. Show me people, or include people that have at least 1 visit of going to a page where the URL is equal to, I'll just do a really daft example, // right, bond. There we go. Who's been to the bond page of my website? Because it's equal to, right? We might say not equal to. So we might have a rule underneath, same thing, but says not equal to. Who's not been to that page? So who's been to this page, but not been to that page? So we got that gap analysis, that process, that flow kind of thing. Who's been here, but not gone there? So who went to the sign up for this thing or request a callback or whatever? Who went to that page, but never went to the thank you for doing the thing page? So how did that process break down? I came up with this statement the other day. I might sell it to the marketing team, right? And it's about really how this all works, right? If you can identify it in a segment, whatever it is, that behavior, that data, if you can identify it in a segment, you can then act upon it automatically in automation, right? Segment looks at the data, identifies all these things. Programs, the automation can act on any of that, right? If you can identify it in segments, you can automatically act upon it in automation. Trademark David Pyle, copyright David Pyle, whatever, right? So who's been to that page or not? Who's been to that section? Starts with, the URL starts with that. Is one of, who's been to any of these pages? Bang, 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 right? So where have they been, or where have they not been on my site? When have they been there? Session starts, okay? So show me people that have been to that page on my website, and the session start did not occur, the anniversary, whatever, occurs today, before, on, or after a certain date, more than so many days in the future or the past, in the last so many days or not, in between on a set date. So let's say who's been to that page on my website in the last 3 days, right? Not bad. So who's been to that site in that page in the last 3 days? We could say how long for. If we want to qualify this, are they really interested in the product? So let's say for more than a minute. This is minute increments. Who's been to that page on my website and the session lasted for more than a minute? It might be how many pages did they look at. So I got number of pages, more than one. So again, you know, duration tells us where they bounce off. You know, a minute on a website, a minute's a long time to be on the wrong website, isn't it? So that could tell us it's not a bounce off. Number of pages, do they look at more than one? They're having a poke around, so they're looking around the site, so they're maybe engaged. So we can filter out any accidental visits to the site and stuff like that. Where did they go? Where did they not go? When did they do that? How long for? How many pages? All this sort of stuff. You can also start pulling through UTM tags. I've not got it in this account actually, where we can start to use the UTM tags. Show me anyone that came from social media. Break it down further. Show me people that came from Facebook. Break it down further to the actual campaign. Show me people that came to my site from this advert on this channel. Again, you know, all that sort of stuff. So using those Google UTM tags, we can use that as well to identify not only where have people gone, but where did they come from? So, you know, if you want to squeeze extra value out of your pay-per-click campaigns, you're doing that advertising. If people come from this channel or this advert we've paid for, well, let's not just congratulate ourselves. Let's go, right, let's get them and let's send them back an email. Obviously, they've got to be in your account and all that sort of stuff, but it does mean you can squeeze more value out of those different channels, that investment. So that's your web insights. Did they do this stuff? Quick question there, just to kind of so they don't build up. Tips form, it's all that one. So the video, yes, I'm going to record this, Gareth, and I'll send it out. So yes, everyone will get a link to watch this again or download it or something, but yes. And then the other one was this one. So yeah, good question actually there by TV. So yeah, at the moment, the unique identifier for every customer is their email address. Now that it may change in the future, but right now, email address is the unique ID for everyone, which means everyone only has one contact record. Well, every email address only has one contact record. So there's your web insights. Did they look at my stuff? Then we've got different behaviors. So we've got things like, you know, opens. Did they open an email? So we saw all this before. So drag a click opens rule in, include or exclude people that have or haven't opened emails. So have they opened? Show me people that have not opened any emails they were sent in the last, you know, I don't know, 365 days. Who's not opened any campaign they've been sent in the last year? So do we want to get rid of those people? Or, you know, we're not going to cling on to people that never, but they will open one day. It's been 5 years, but honestly, they might open one day. Yeah, they will, maybe, but also what they're doing is dragging your sender reputation down, because obviously sender reputation is based on lots of factors, open rates being one of them. And if you've got contacts that are not opening for 5 years, 3 years, whatever, that could affect your sender reputation, which in turn could then affect the deliverability of your campaign. So looking for those guys is one thing. On a more positive though, let's say we want to find people that have opened specific campaigns. So this shows me every campaign in my account. If it's got a date, it's been sent. If it's not got a date, it's not been sent. Show me people that have opened any of these 3 emails, all of them, more than one, whatever. What does that tell me? How specific were they? Were they all about a particular product or category? If they are, does that mean they like the product? A more reliable behavior is clicks, obviously. It's probably a lot smaller number, but it's more reliable. You don't often accidentally click a link in email by mistake. So these are quite good. Should be quite broad or quite granular. So quite broad, include or exclude customers that have or have not clicked any link in any campaign. So pretty broad, right? But by definition, you've got to open an email to click a link. So show me people that have clicked any link in any campaign in the last 180 days. Okay. So is that your engaged database? You know, we all know it's not about size, it's about what you do with it. You might have a massive database, but how many have clicked a link in an email in the last 6 months, 12 months? So that's going to give you that benchmark, isn't it? And you'll know it will be a certain percentage of those people, of course, but we can at least get those realistic benchmarks. Any link in any campaign in the last year, 2 years, blah, blah. So you get that real understanding of actually what is my engaged data. Then we might say selected campaigns. Show me people that have or have not clicked any link still, but now in selected campaigns. So maybe this email and this email and this email was about a certain product, but now they're clicking links on them. So if someone's clicked more than, you know, I don't know, where are we? Clicked more than one of those 3 links in an email about a specific product, does that mean they're interested? They've opened it twice now, or they clicked a link in 2 emails about that thing. What can I take from that? And I guess the big thing with all this is, you know, you've got to look at this stuff and say, what's the assumption I'm going to make? Based on that behavior, what is the assumption? We're going to base an assumption on preference or interest based around that behavior. So we've then got specific links. So now really sort of granular stuff, you know, starting to get into the James Bond bit now, aren't we? So include or exclude people that have or have not clicked specific links in specific campaigns. Again, we see every campaign in the account. The difference is because I've got specific links selected, I get select link. So we can go campaign number 1 there, select link, bang, every link in that email. So who's clicked that link and or that link, or, you know, whatever it is, we can select multiple links there. Back to the list. Next campaign. Who clicked on that product in this email? Boom, 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 blah, blah, blah. There we are. So again, we're looking at that behavior. Did they not click? Now, this link name is really obvious. This is the name that you give your link when you put the link into the email. So make it descriptive or friendly. You know, if you're going to go old school like I used to do, and I used to print off call lists for our recruitment consultants, you know, these are the people that looked at these vacancies, we're headhunting people, these are customers that looked at these client services that we're promoting. I give them a list of people that click the link, so the name of the link needs to be descriptive because a sales guy has no idea what I've called the link, so I've got to say this service, that, you know, whatever it might be. So make those lists descriptive because it depends on who's gonna read that. If it's a sales list, like a lead list, it needs to be understandable by the sales team. So include or exclude people that have or haven't clicked any link in any campaign, any link in selected campaigns, or specific links in specific campaigns. Again, remember, like I said, if you can identify it in segments, you can act upon it in programs, right? So someone's clicked that link. Now what we want to do, we want to send them an email, right? Because we sent the first email out that maybe said, you know, what are you into? So here's an example, you probably know this, but just in case, like if you're a department store, so take the big one, so, you know, House of Fraser, or, you know, I don't know, Macy's, Bloomingdale's, all that sort of stuff, John Lewis. When you sign up for their email, I bet it's a really simple sign up form. I bet it's just email. Someone mentioned that a bit earlier on, actually. Minimum barrier to sign up. Give us your email address. Okay. That first email you get is desperately trying to fish for information, not in the proper sense of fishing, not the PH one. It's looking for information, right? Because it wants to know who you are. So that first email is likely to say, click here for menswear, click here for ladies wear, click here for children's wear or something. And so when I click on menswear, it's not going to assume I'm a man, but it definitely will assume that I am looking for menswear. So the next email I get is probably triggered based on that click. So the next emails will be much more weighted towards menswear, maybe get me to select, you know, workwear or casual wear, stuff like that. If I click on children's wear, you won't necessarily think I'm a parent, but he knows that I'm buying for that category. So, you know, just by designing the emails to elicit those clicks is a way of capturing data. If I want to find out someone's birthday, I could ask them to fill out the form and tell me your date of birth. Or I could have a whole horoscope thing and say, click here for information. Capricorn this week. Someone clicks on Capricorn. Now, I don't know when their birthday is, but at least I've narrowed it down to a 4-week period, so I could do it that way round. You know, that sort of stuff, be clever with the links and that kind of eliciting response to the different designs. So there's one other little thing in here. We are getting close to the end, by the way. I know it's rolling on a bit, but we get into the juicy bits. So if I go to any link in any campaign, you get these 2 extra bits here, have or have not clicked, link groups. So this is really clever. So this is, anyone that's on this session, I would recommend thinking about this. So a link group, think of it as a tag that groups together links to similar things, right? So the example I would normally use is running shoes, right? So let's say I sell sportswear and I'm got a link to a product. Let's say it's an Adidas, I don't know, Adidas men's running shoe, for example, right? So when I put a link into that product, or to any product, I would probably put a bunch of tags on that link. So I put it in and I put a brand link. So Adidas. So I've got a link for each of my brands that I sell. So I'd add the brand link Adidas. Then the category, you know, footwear maybe. So I've got Adidas footwear, subcategory running shoe perhaps. So Adidas footwear running shoe. If it's gender specific, you know, men's, ladies, whatever, or color, I don't know. But certainly those first three: brand, category, subcategory. And if I do that to every link to a product or something like that, what it allows me to do is to run this one where we say, okay, I want to include people that have clicked any link in any campaign during a certain time frame that had the tag Adidas or running shoe or both. So you see where that works? It means that we can be much broader with our segments, and effectively our segments don't really ever need to be updated, because we can say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to track these tags: brand, category, subcategory, and the big thing is then your process of building the email has to be rigid. Every time I put a link in an email to a product, I make sure I add the brand, the category, and the subcategory tag. If you want, and basically you add that when you add a link into your emails, you give that link a name. If you remember, you put the alt text in, and there's so you put the URL in, the alt text, the bottom it says link name, and the bit above that it says link groups, and you type them in and hit enter, and it saves them. So you could just go in and bash out like every brand you sell or each category you sell, and you can have them there ready to go. If you want any more information on that, let me know at the end. I'll show you how to do it. But that's just another way of using, makes things really granular. So yeah, so that's your sends, right? So other things we've got then, if I want to know a customer's interested in a product, I've sent them a form and they filled it out and told me. They've gone to my preference center and clicked a box in a preference, oh, well, they like that. They've gone to my website and Web Insights has told me they like this thing. They've opened an email specifically about that product. They've clicked on a link to that product in an email. All of those behaviors are telling me, yeah, they like the product. And then there's orders and carts, which I'm going to show you separately, but they're in here as well. So this, everyone's got this stuff, right? You've all got this in your accounts, identifying behavior. A quick question just popped up, just make sure that's in here before we do it. Set up logic for abandoned carts. So Gareth, yeah, for abandoned carts, you'd use the same tool. Actually, that I'll answer it to everyone because that's a good question. So this tool, this segmentation tool, this wondrous tool, at the moment, I'm building a segment to which I'm going to send an email, right? So like a manual send email, or maybe I'll export it out, or maybe I'll do something with it. But I'm building a segment. Gareth was talking about abandoned carts. This same tool, this segmentation tool, is also in the automation tool, in the program builder. So when you do a start node, or where you do a decision in a program, like you mentioned the abandoned cart program, something like that, this is the tool you will use to make decisions. Do we add them to the program because they've been to this web page? Do I send them an email of this email because they clicked that link? So everything is about here. So think of it in that, you know, if we can identify it in a segment, we can act upon it automatically in a program. So hopefully that answers that question. But that's how I kind of look at it in there. There's another question there to look at as well. Good questions, by the way, on here. I only hope I can answer them, really. Let's have a look. So there's another one there that I've just missed. One quick, there we are. So Gigi, how do you enforce each contact only has one email? Oh, good one. That is a great question. Right, so that really simple, Gigi, there. Let me just close all this down. Hold on. So when we include people, this goes to segments and it goes to automation because it's the same thing, basically. Is I'm including all this good stuff, right? Include these. All I would do is use an exclude rule. So I want to include these people to send them an email or do whatever, but maybe I want to exclude people. So exclude people who, I don't know, let's do a send rule. Exclude anyone that's already had an email, so a send, like they've been sent a specific campaign already, they've been sent that email already perhaps, or they've been exclude anyone that's been sent any campaign today or in the last day or whatever it might be. So you've got the exclusion rules. We include people that match these rules, then we exclude anyone that matches this. Same in segments as it is in the program builder as well. So it might be exclude people. I see that we see this quite a lot with e-coms. Exclude anyone that's bought a product in the last 3 days. Why do we want to promote to someone that's just bought a product? They're probably going through some kind of post-purchase journey anyway. So we might say exclude people who've bought a product. So you might have a data field that's got last order date, occurs today or yesterday, or all that stuff. So that's how you'd exclude people really from a list. Okay, so that's a segment. A couple of things then. I'm going to go into the two kind of e-commerce bits separately, and then we're going to go into automation. So you see we're spying, right? We're looking at behaviors, we're making assumptions based on behaviors. So where's my Bond gone? Where's he gone? I can't find my segment. All right, we'll use this one then. So let's take this segment because I seem to have lost mine. So let's take my segment here, AB01, right? I got 4,577 people, and I've used everything. This the question earlier on about how do we get this insight and turn it into data fields, right? So I've got these 4,500 people that I think like a certain product. So for argument's sake, I always use the example of I sell cars, and I want to find people that are interested in 4x4 cars, right? So I've gone through and I've built my segment. They've opened emails about 4x4 cars. They've clicked links to them. They've been to my 4x4 web pages. You know, all of that stuff that we saw. And now I've got them. I've got 4,500 people that I believe through behavior like 4x4. What I can now do, obviously I can do all the things to them, but if I want to kind of say, let's group them together. Let's have a data field that says they like 4x4 cars. So what we can do, really simple, select the segment or multiple segments, more actions, bulk update contacts, right? Really simple manual process, bulk update. What that means is I can now update the data field for everyone at the same time. Oh, there we go. So I've got any data field. These are all of the data fields in the accounts, whatever data field type it is, but I've got a 4x4 data field handily. I can say, right, for everyone in that segment, change the value in the 4x4 data field to say yes, update all, bang. Everyone in that segment now, the value in the 4x4 data field equals yes. Now, obviously, as people add and remove from that segment, they won't necessarily have that because this is a manual process. But I could do this, regularly and stuff like that. So that's one way of updating a data field value based on all of those different insights and behaviors from a segment. You can do the same with an address book. But I'll show you in automation in just a sec how you can use automation to do that automatically. And that's really when we start to do the spying bit, which is great. But just one, I just noticed that I didn't have that insight data in for the ecom. So I'm just going to very quickly go into an ecom integration just for the guys there to show you the other information we've got. So I'm just going to create another segment very quickly. So, going through all of that segmentation, all those behaviors that tell us all this stuff, let's just have a quick look there. So, is the data field equal this or not? Are they in this address book, yes or no? Did they click the link? Did they open the email? Did they go to the website? And then for the kind of ecom guys, we've got a few extra ones as well. So you've got orders and insights, right? When we connect to an e-commerce platform, all of we do that. Everyone really we can collect into. So top of my head, what we got: Magento, Shopify, Woo, Salesforce, BigCommerce, quite so many more, loads, right? We use order insight to look into the store, into the orders. And so we start with orders, right? Order insights. I want to find people that bought stuff. When we plug into a store, we look at the entire history of that store. We're into the store, right? Called insight data. So we used it a bit like with web insights, like a transaction. I want to include people where the number of order records is greater than or equal to 1. I could do that, more than 1, less than 20, whatever. But again, hit OK. It's going to include anyone that's ever ordered from the site, from the store. Nice. Then again, it's the filters that matter. Which store? You might have multiple stores. Filtering people by billing address and delivery address. More likely, it's about product. So what products have they purchased by product name, product SKU code, category name, all this stuff. So SKU code is basically the product code, isn't it? Everyone will know that. So SKU code is a product code. So you might say, okay, include people have at least one order where the product code was equal to this. Boom, boom, boom. Just like Web Insights. Who went to that web page? Who's bought that product ever? Who's not bought that product? You can paste lists of products into these blocks, by the way, comma separated. So who's bought any of these, all of these, whatever? Who's not bought that product? So there's the gap analysis with products, with order. Who bought this but didn't buy that? Who bought the jacket but not the trousers? Call the police. Who bought the belt but not the shoes? That sort of stuff. So who bought this, did not buy that? So again, we're looking for gap analysis. Who did and who didn't? So we know what to be pushing at clients. contains is one of, who's bought one of these products, bum, 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 and so on. Who's got at least one order buying one of those 3 products? Great. When did they buy it? Purchase date. So who's bought one of these products in the last week, in the last day? And again, think about this idea of anything we identify in a segment, we can act upon automatically in a program. Let's say I'm selling stuff that is consumable, like food, drink, protein powders, vape liquid, oil for cars, hair products, anything that's consumable that people would want to replenish. So let's say I'm selling, I don't know, what am I selling here? Let's say shampoo, mainly because I've got no hair. So let's say this is all shampoo that I'm selling, right? Hair product. And they are all bottles that should last. I think someone that buys that product probably will want to replenish that order in, let's say, 30 days. It's I don't know, half a litre of hair product that I think should last 30 days with a customer. So I want to say, all right, let's build an automated program, which we're going to do in programs in a second, that says if anyone has got at least one order of buying one of these products and the purchase date occurs today, before, in the next, I'm going to say before today by exactly 25 days, now send them an email. Classic replenishment program. Show me people that bought this product 25 days ago, send them an email saying, hello, you're probably going to run out of shampoo in the next 5 days. Would you like another order? Simple, classic replenishment driven by segmentation using order insight. Again, people that have or haven't bought products, when did they buy the products? How many did they buy? Then it starts going down the route of what have they spent, order totals, all of that good stuff. So lots of additional stuff. What did they buy? What did they not buy? When did they buy it? How many did they buy? So quantity is always a funny one. When we were sometimes with the clients, okay, well, show me people that bought more than 3 of this big thing. I'm like, crikey, we've got these customers have bought more than 3. That's weird. Maybe they're buying for a group or a company or a gang or a family. So we can identify those different buying behaviors as well. Multiple purchase as well as volume and stuff like that. That's your order insight. Then, of course, you've got cart insight. So for the e-coms, all the stuff we just said that was for everybody, did they click on the link? Did they visit the page? All that stuff identifies as a behavior. Did they like the product? But of course, with this, you've got, did they buy it? Have they bought it before? So they like it because they already bought it once. And then cart is what is in the abandoned cart. So show me people that have got that product in their cart. They haven't bought it, but it's in the cart. They're not far off buying the product. At least they're interested. And so we can start to use cart data. So, I always think there's an opportunity there somewhere. Someone mentioned abandoned carts earlier on. So abandoned carts, the old classic, you put a product in your basket, you abandon, and you get a series of emails. Hello, you left something in your cart. And that's great. That works. We all know some clients I train, 40% of their revenue comes from abandoned cart emails. So why wouldn't you not? But what about the end of the month or end of the year, end of the quarter, when you think we need to shift some product? Well, what about if you use cart insights and say, okay, include everyone whose cart value is over £500? Who's got loads of stuff in their cart? Let's just go after those guys. We've already sold the product. We know they like the product. They've just not converted. So let's not go mad. Take those guys out. They've got this value of cart, or they've got these particular products that before we put them on sale, let's find people who've got them in their cart and go to them first before we discount the product. That kind of stuff. So cart insight could be really useful because they're close to converting, but they haven't quite. And so think again for things like what's another good one? Oh, abandoned browse. So if you combine some of the stuff we just looked at, include customers who've been to this web page in the last 3 days, exclude people that have purchased that product in the last 3 days. The gap analysis gives me the people that looked at the product but didn't buy it. Let's send them an email automatically. We identified it in a segment, we can act upon it automatically in a program. So all of that stuff, amazing. Anyway, I'm getting myself excited. That's your segmentation for the e-com stuff as well, on top of everything for everybody else. So we're going to jump into automation quickly. I just want to show you the SPY program that I like to play with. Okay, right, good. So that's all the questions. Good. Okay, finally, so then a bit of automation in here. So all this stuff I'm showing you, particularly segments, which is genius, can be automated. We see that. Right, so I'm going to build a very quick program to show you how we do that. I'm sorry this is going on. a bit longer, but there's just so much stuff that we can show you. So these are the automated programs, by the way. There's lots of templates here, 32 templates, thousands and thousands of pounds worth of development if you have to pay for it. If I sound a bit bitter, that's because when I was a client, they used to charge me about, I don't know, 4 or 5 grand to build these. Now they give them away. You know, I don't know, I feel like I paid for it in some weird way, which is why I angrily spell my name wrong. So programs, really simple, okay? All that stuff I just showed you in a segment could be in a start node, can't it? So the start node, we'd say every day, this is just a daft example, every day at 5 o'clock, there we go, show me people, and I build that segment like we would do there, you know. So we'll build a daft example, show me people that, you know, we did order insight, didn't we? Show me people that bought that product. Next one, show me people that got it in their cart. Show me people that went to that section of my website. They'll like that product. Show me people that have clicked on a link to it. Show me people who have opened an email about it. We'd make them or, obviously. So they've bought it, they've got it in the cart, or they've been to the website, or they've opened an email about it, or they've clicked on a link about it, or there's a data field that tells me they like it, or a preference. They're in there as well. There's a preference says, yes, they like it. All these things tell me, yeah, they like that thing, whatever it is. You know? So we've got all this good stuff going on. I won't labor it any more than that, really. So the start node can identify all that stuff, right? And so obviously we can go into automation, and definitely if you're not using this, go to the training videos. They're amazing. I did them. So no, probably not, but they're definitely in there anyway. But have a look at the automation. It's, you know, this is what you've got surely Dotdigital for, right? The automation and segmentation. So have a look in there and get the quality. But I've identified in my start node all these people based on lots of behaviors that they like stuff. What can I do with it? This node here, this is the James Bond of nodes. Finally, the update contact node, right? So the start node has identified those behaviors. Let's say that 4x4 thing I was saying. They've all done something that lets me know that person likes a 4x4 car. Update contact, so simple, will automatically update a data field or a preference when a customer goes through that node. So I've got a 4x4 data field, haven't I? So I can go, right, there's all of my data fields. There's my 4x4. I can add a new data field at this point, by the way, if I don't have one, so that's really good. I'm going to say, right, change the value in that data field, say yes. And if I was that cheeky, I could do that. End program. Find people that like that product, record in each individual contact record, they like that product, end program. Job done, spy program. It's not sending emails, it's just every day identifying behavior, making that assumption and recording it in the contact record. Sitting there doing nothing but following data. So next time you want to find people that are interested in that product or service, this little fella has been sitting there 24 hours a day, 365 days a year going, oh yeah, he liked it, he clicked on that link, or he opened that email, or she bought the product, or whatever it might be, right? Simple stuff. You can have this multiple times. If I want to, just as another example here, want to think, you know what, that's all very well, but what if this could be old data, right? 4x4, he likes a 4x4, what if that runs out? Here's a trick. Update contact again, right? I'm going to create a new data field because I know I don't have this. And I'm going to create a data field. And let's call that, let's say 4x4 date, right? So I'm going to create a data field that is automatically going to record the date that was updated. So not only do I know they like a 4x4, I know how old that data, right? So 4x4 date is a date field, leave the rest. And if I'm starting to shout, I apologize because I do like this stuff. And so now I've got this new data field, right? So I can edit it when people hit that node, set to a set value, or set to a set date, or set to the date when the node is reached, right? So if I do that and we put that end node on again, now what date is it today? Oh, it's payday, 30th. Not I get paid, I do it for the love of it, obviously. So what happens now? We find the people that like 4x4s, we add them to the program, we say, yes, they like a 4x4. And then I say, well, let's record today's date as the last time we updated their preference of 4x4. I've now date stamped it. So between those two fields, in everyone's contact record, I know that they like a 4x4, And I know the last time that we made that decision. That's the spy program, as I call it. We don't call it that. They may not like it, but I call it that. So yeah, so that's the stuff, right? We can record and we can do other things. We can record data nice and easy in the data fields or preferences as well. Remember, you can update the preferences. You can also add contacts to address books or other programs. You know, now he's clicked on 4x4. I might add him to an address book where all my 4x4 people are. And now I might have a whole separate program that every, so often sends out my list of 4x4 cars that I'm selling. So we can add them onto a journey or another onto another program or into an address book. And then finally remove contacts, worth just putting in there anyway. Remember, none of these things are sending emails. They're just messing with the data. Remove is the opposite of add, of course. So we either take people out of a particular address book, maybe, or we can delete them automatically from the account. And there's lots of stuff around that. So you could have a program that says include people that have not opened an email for the last 2 years, and then put the delete from the account in. So it automatically adds a little tidy up for anyone that's not opened an email for a couple of years. Anyway, that is what I wanted to show you. I hope that, I'm sorry that rambled on for at least half an hour longer than I expected, but you can see why I get excited. You can collect data, you can store it in fields and preferences and address books, you can collect it through forms and preference centers, and we can use all that behavioral stuff, and we can convert that to data fields if we want, and we can just collect it using the little spy program. So I think that is it. I'm just going to go through any questions there. Okay, perfect. Right, so I think that's it. Hopefully that was of some use in there. Where's my little slide? I should finish it off. So we looked at sign up forms and preferences, email behavior, website activity, order history, and a little bit of spying. There he is, Roger Moore. I'm a 70s kid. That's the 70s James Bond. A little bit of Roger. And so, yeah, and that's it really. So thank you very much for attending. I hope that was of use to some of you at least. And I will send out the recording. I'm just going to stop that recording now. So I'm still online.